Hi, people. My name is Nikolai Montinola. Today, we will be presenting for the course project of the Application Development and Emerging Technology. I have decided group 3 topics, and they call it the data store, the platform, and the application part 1 and part 2. Now, I made this PowerPoint for myself a couple of days ago, and I put some images and I put those bullet points and the meaning of the words and how they mean. Now, get ready for a presentation. Let's begin. The data store. What does data store mean? According to Oracle, it means a connected store of data, whether it is stored or if you have more than a single file. Also, it is a repository for data sets and storage, management, and distribution on enterprise levels. It persists on collections of data storage and management. NoSQL versus SQL. SQL is structured query language. A language utilizes to pose inquiries about a database stored into a relational format. Relational database means a recognition to relate stored information items. Also, it is a programming language made of standards that uses to manage relational databases and have performance on varied operations on the data. NoSQL means not only SQL. When it's compromised, sometimes it's increased data storage in exchange for increased usability for programming sites. It is approaching the database design that activates the storage of querying of data off the basic structures found in relational databases. In comparison to SQL and NoSQL, SQL databases are vertically scalable, while NoSQL databases are horizontally scalable. Redis. It means an open source BSD licensed in-memory data structure store. It works supported with an in-memory dataset. It is supported with asynchronous verification. It is storing data in a key value design, and it is made of an ideal case of a NoSQL data store. How can you interact with Redis on our code? If you make the tweet calendar.js file, that will be your way containing into the Twitter directory of your application folder. First, type var before requiring the end Twitter command. Then type Redis before requiring the Redis module. After making your require commands, type credentials before requiring. Credentials JSON, type Redis client before putting Twitter command. Afterwards, type in Twitter credentials command and Redis create client 2. When you make the callback, type client.get before putting a complementary adjective and put function. When you are done, make sure to type return for exiting the function. How can you install with the Redis module via a package.json file? This time, you should know how to make a key for each word. Then you have to increment the interactive value, but we would like to programmatically work from our Node.js programs. MongoDB. What does MongoDB mean? It is an open source database with a document-oriented architecture type. It has compatibility across all technological platforms to support working with data using JSON in the same formats. Also, it is a non-relational document database. The function of using MongoDB is to read, insert, update, or delete data. It stores product information and details by finance and e-commerce companies. Mongoose. What does Mongoose mean? It is an object data modeling ODM or ODM joining with MongoDB and Node.js. It makes your way to manage relationships between data, providing valid schema, and allows to translate between coding objects and representations. Second, it is a JavaScript library, which means that you'll have schemas with a powerful type data. Once your schema has a good meaning, Mongoose will make a model based on your specific schemas. Number 2 is the platform. According to information technology, it is made of any hardware/software used to host an application or service. It is grouped together with multiple technologies that are used as a base upon other applications, process, or technologies in development. It is between hardware and software architecture that is in the actional foundation or base upon which other applications, processes, or technologies are developed. Platform as a Service, or PaaS. It means a cloud computing model where a third-party provider which makes the delivery of hardware and software tools to use around the internet. What does cloud computing mean? With this term, it is based around the thought that the low rate of details of software maintenance and computation should move away of local computers and onto the web. Second, it can be utilized in computing or on-demand computing. It was an inspiration by the cloud symbol that is often used to have a representation to the internet in flowcharts and diagrams. Third, it delivers different services through the internet, including data storage, servers, databases, networking, and software. Cloud Foundry. It means it is an open source cloud platform as a service, PaaS, on which developers can build, deploy, and typically run and scale applications. Also, it is a system to simply deploy, operate, and scale applications which are written in any type of programming language or framework. It generates system logs from Cloud Foundry components and app logs from apps the host for. What is Node Dev Bootstrap? For a Node Dev Bootstrap project, you'll have the right setting to send properly from your own guest machine without additional configuration. Also, it is made a vagrant file for constructing a node development environment into basics. What is process.env? It means it is a global variable which injects by the node at the running time for your application to use, and it is the representation to the state, system, and environment your application to start. It is made of an inbuilt application programming interface of the process module which accesses the way to the user environment. It should tell your application to take the port by properly reading the environment variable. One is process.endPort. When you set to 3000, it will turn into a listening port. In many ways, to live an environment as a convention, you can set as an environment variable port to tell your web server what port you can hear for. If you surpass 300 hard code to app listen command, you are always hearing on port 3000. It depends when you have required of the environment on which your server is running the right way. If you have port 3000, it allows you to have an experiment with Express and without root access for it. This will be used as a listening port. What is package.json? It is the heart of any Node project. Also, it is core to the Node.js ecosystem plus fundamental part to understand and work with Node.js, NPM, and even the modern JavaScript. It is a JSON file existed at the root of a JavaScript/Node project, which metadata is holding relevantly to our project, and it manages project's dependencies, script, and version for it. What is Bootstrap? For a bootstrapping computer, it is the way to boot or to load program into a device using an initial program with an increasing size to load in the desired program. It is the process to load a pack of instructions when the device is activated or properly booted. Using a function in JavaScript, it uses to print any kinds of defined variables to print any type of message that needs a display to the user. What is server.json? It is an open standard file format and data interchange format. It is used as human readable text to be stored and allows data objects transmission consisting of attribute value pairs and array data types. Also, you can consider it as a JSON server. is a node module that you can make a demonstration to REST-JSON web service in less than 1 minute. A simple project that supports you to install a REST API with CRUD operations on high speed. What happens when you delete applications from Foundry? We want to delete applications from Cloud Foundry, particularly when we made an experiment. Now, type the delete subcommand before typing vagrant dollar symbol cf delete sp underscore example command. If you delete it, press Y and it will automatically be deleted. Dependencies in package.json. The 4 of the modules are Express, Redis, Mongoose, and then Twitter, used as path models. When it's pretty simple and straightforward, you can use basic modules that connect to internal services. Binding Redis to your application. For running your application via the virtual machine, Redis and MongoDB are locally running services. It makes a little change when your application is running on a platform as a service. Second, you have to begin your configuration to the services that you need running in your connections with CF. From this part, we will be installing Redis on Cloud Foundry and start getting our tweet counter application for interfacing. What does a module mean? A module means a JavaScript or library / file that can be imported into other code using nodes require function. According to JavaScript, it allows you to break up the code into separate file. Also, it is just a file containing related code. What does routing mean? Routing means refers to how an application's endpoints, URIs / uniform resource identifiers respond to client's request. Second, it processes of selecting a path for traffic in a network or in the center of or around multiple networks. Third, it is the process of moving a packet of data from source to destination. Binding MongoDB to your application. Getting Redis running, you better prepare MongoDB for making it fully operational in Cloud Foundry. Right now, you first need to listen to process.nv.port if that value exists. Then you'll be able to type the process.n.vcap_services command for getting out of our MongoDB credentials. What does Vagrant mean? It is used as provisioners and providers when you have made your building blocks for managing development environments. Also, it is used for building and managing virtual machine environments in an individual workflow. It is able to activate users to create and configure lightweight, reproducible, and portable development environments. What does MLab mean? MLab means an entirely managed cloud database service that is hosted to MongoDB databases. It stands for Memory Logic Array Block. It can also function as one port SRAM by connecting the address to both the read address and write address ports. What does vcap_services mean? vcap_services means a JSON string, and you can use to have a configuration on your data source, MongoDB, and Redis connections. Second, applications running in Cloud Foundry gain access to the bound service instances via stored in an environment variable. Third, it is a variable contains information that you can use to interact with a service instance in IBM Cloud. Fourth, it means a hash of lists where the keys are service labels and the values are lists of hashes of service instance metadata. Now, the application part 1. Refactoring our client. Without maintenance, clients are among very simple places for our code. I think this can be an attribute to its fact that client-side code is often associated with seemingly created with easy visual actions, and therefore it should be simple to make it implemented. Client-side. What does client-side mean? It refers to operations that are in performance by the client in client-server relationship type in computer networks. Also, it refers to all in a web application that is displayed or takes place on the client with an end user device. It is a specific part of client/server architecture, which is a network structure called on distinguished clients or computers ordering information from servers, hardware pieces that makes the delivery for information and process requests. It includes images, text, and the rest of the UI/user interface. User interface. It means an interpreted increasing level general purpose programming language that helps multiple programming paradigms, including procedural, object-oriented, and functional programming. Second, it is the point of the human computer interaction and communication in the device. The types of user interfaces are GUI, CLI, VUI, MDI, NLI, and more. The items or stuff of user interfaces are computer, mouse, remote, control, VR, ATMs, icons, sliders, buttons, notifications, etc. for navigation, information, and inputs. Document Object Model or DOM. It means it is a programming API for HTML and XML documents that defines the logical structure of documents and the way a document is accessed and manipulated. Second, it is a programming interface for web documents. Third, it is a programming interface that allows us to create, change, or delete elements from the document. What does a div tag mean? It is a tag that uses as a container for HTML elements which styles with CSS are manipulated with JavaScript. Second, it is a definition of a division or a section in an HTML document. Third, it is used for making the divisions or sections of the content in the web page. How do we Ajaxify our tabs? With another issue, our application has immediately that if someone visits inside from one another internet browser and adds a to-do thing on our list, we will not see that a new to-do item to appear. If we click a different tab, instead, we actually need to reload and refresh the entire page to see the update. What is a get method? It means a built-in method in jQuery that is allowed to retrieve data from the server using the HTTP GET request. Second, it returns the value of the item with the specific key. Third, if you have the GET method, it uses us to request data from a specified resource. What is a val method? It means it is primary to use to get the values of form elements such as input, select, and text area. Second, it returns or sets the value attribute of the selected elements. Third, it is not a build method in jQuery which is used to return or set the value of attribute for the selected elements. What is trigger method? It means it is a method that allows to trigger the specific event and the normal behavior of an event like form submission for the selected elements. Second, it is used to trigger the specified event handler for every matched element. Third, it is a function available in jQuery which allows us to trigger another specific event or event handler when you have selected the element. What is deferred.fail method? It means a method that is acceptable to one or more arguments, all of which can be either one function or an array of functions. Second, it is a method in jQuery. It's used to have extra handlers which are to be called when the deferred object has rejection. Third, in jQuery, it is a function which goes back to the utility object with methods which can register multiple callbacks to queues. What does controller mean? Controller means a JavaScript object that contains attributes/properties and functions. Another way is how you function when writing to control your data. What does jQuery mean? jQuery means it allows us to account for the scenario pretty simple using the fail function. which can be chained from an AJAX call. They simplify HTML downstream traversal and manipulation, as well as event handling, CSS animation, and AJAX. And it is a JavaScript library that allows web developers to have additional functionality to their websites. The last one is the application part 2. Refactoring our server. We have looked out for a little bit of tips on refactoring our client code. We can simply apply the same tips, but there are more considerations on the server. In this section, you will use the model view controller design pattern for learning how to organize our server code. Code organization. Now, server.js means a server-side code contained in a single file. For the to-do, process, or objects, it can get overwhelmed so fast. Ways of separating concerns. For models, begin by moving the mongoose model definition up the server.js and make sure you organize it to an independent model.js module. For controllers, you have to place the models into your own directory. When you do that, it will allow us to have more simply keep a neat and clean separation of responsibility in our program. When the way is changed, our program responds to requests from the client will have you edit it with an associated controller file. What does a Mongo schema mean? It means it defines the structure of the document normalized by default values and validators. Second, it maps to a MongoDB collection and defines the format for all documents on that collection or group of folders. Third, you can think of it as the configuration object for a Mongoose model. What is a require module? It is a command module which appears to be available on the global scope. Also, you can think of it as the command and the module as the organizer of all or required modules. Following with Node.js through the common JS module system, and the build and require function is known as the very simple way to include modules that exist in separate files. What are JavaScript objects? It means they are objects that are containers for named values that called either properties or methods. What is Express mean? It is a backend web application framework for Node.js, released as free and open source software under the MIT license. What are HTTP verbs, CRUD, and REST? For the mapping, it allows permits us to create APIs that create basically a clean and easy interface to have available resources on our server. APIs have good behavior that are typically referred as RESTful web APIs. An acronym, REST stands for Representational State Transfer, and for its general purpose, its main idea that depicts how resources access on web servers that should be there via the HTTP protocol. What is GET? It is the way to take over and request data from a specific resource in a server. Also, it refers to an HTTP method which applies to requesting information from a particular source. What is REST, representational state transfer, mean? With the word, it is an architectural design for grouping standards between computer systems on the internet, making it simple for systems to have a proper communication to others. Second, it is a type of software architecture that was created by design to make sure that it's interoperable in the center of different internet computer systems. What is setting up routes by ID? It is a nice looking feature that expresses software to be able to create every variable into our routes. It has permission to make one rule that responds to a whole set of requests. What is controller? It is a function to write your data control. What is _ID field menu? It is a beautiful naming convention that MongoDB uses across all of its content. Second, it is a field that has a population for object ID or a unique value that we, as database administrator, assigned have each document in the collection. Third, when a document is existed in your MongoDB system, it has and your underscore ID has been assigned. Now you cannot change or update its main key. What are HTTP response codes? In addition to HTTP, it includes countless verbs that map nicely to our CRUD operations, and also defines to a set of standard response codes that is represented to possible responses to an HTTP request. There were 3-digit codes that were issued by a server in response to a browser-side request from its client. What happens when there was an error function? When a function is executed, the server will respond with an HTTP error. According to JavaScript, it will be stopped and generate into an error message. The term is JavaScript will throw an exception through an error. What is POST? POST means a request method supported by HTTP but used by the World Wide Web. It is designed to send data to a server from an HTTP client. What does 404 error mean? It means it is an HTTP status code that the website message said page not found when the website is shut down or not operational on the internet. Then it is a response state status code that indicates the server cannot find a requested resource. When it causes a 404 error, a user attempts to access a web page that is no longer available, shut down, or doesn't exist in the past times. What does HTTP 500 error mean? It means your web server experiences major problems but can not pinpoint any specific error or what causes are rooted. Second, it encountered an unexpected condition that has the prevention from fulfilling the request. Third, it is covered with unexpected issues that don't fit very well into existing error codes. What is a model view controller? It approaches to an application architecture that is mostly dictated to the design of a database-driven application, and it has become the de facto standard for writing.
First, use your fingerprint.
Become the de facto standard for writing every web application. Second, it is a software design pattern that it is commonly used for developing UI user interface that opens dividends to the related program logic into 3 interconnected elements. Third, it is a pattern in software design that is commonly used to have an implementation for user interfaces, data, and controlling logic. 4 ways on how to build, set up, and improve. First, building the user model will be consistent of a string representation to the username and the default MongoDB object ID. Second, building the user controller will be able to set up or install an action for each of the CRUD operations, along with an index action to have a return of a list of all of the user objects. Third, setting up routes will make them interesting. For setting up routes, you are allowed to set up the basic HTTP/action mapping for our user model as we did in the previous time. Fourth, improving our to-do controller, actions will be modified to our to-do model so that each to-do object has an owner. It will be representation by an object ID in the to-dos collection, which will be a reference to a user element in the user's collections. So that's it. That's done. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoy my long presentation in the course project of application development and emerging technology. Right now, I will bring on for making a website about artificial intelligence / AI. I look forward to work a website and I hope to finish the course in time and take my time. Thank you people, and thank you for my presentation. See you next time.